Rawr. I'm wearing this this wolf hat. It's actually got these long things with the little pockets at the bottom. To, I guess, to show that kind of a point of my video here, which is that people are... There's so much that can be learned by people. And I just want to say thank you to everyone I've learned from in this world. Because I think that we grow into these age groups where we think that we're supposed to be mature. And I think maturity, I think what it is we have a lack of knowledge. And so we replace that knowledge with maturity by responsibility in order to make ourselves feel complete. And since we don't have the answers to life or to our existence, we paint these pretty pictures of what it means to be alive. And those pretty pictures become our society. So the way I see it is society is a reflection of our discomfort. We're building and building and building. Really, we're just looking within and we don't know how to do it. Now, I found this hat at, I guess I would be the oldest guy at a rave, you might say. It was actually at Burning Man, the local Burning Man, which is called Soak here in Portland. And it's held on some private land out in, each state has their own private Burning Man. Most places, if you have to look for it, you know, they're not going to advertise. You can meet really good people. The kind of place you can go and there's 1,000 people there and you can leave your backpack sitting on the trunk of your car and go out and have fun all day and come back and it's still there. You know, it's that kind of place. The people are honest, the people are true, most of them. I mean, there's always an exception, but I found this hat while I was dancing, shrooming my balls off with some Molly and some good fungus, and dancing away in the pouring rain in the middle of the woods, and I found this laying on the ground. And so I took it, and I got a lot of shit for wearing it because, you know, it's funny because I'm almost 40, and this is like what you see the 20-year-old kids wearing these around. And I look at that as a better reason to wear it. Because I don't care if people think I have a low maturity level. It really matters not to me because I know that's not how people perceive me in my daily life. Because I seek enough knowledge about life in my own life to feel comfortable in whatever I choose to wear. You know, I have no image. I haven't bought a new pair of pants or shirt in years. I will go to Goodwill, grab whatever I can find, anything that fits. And I know that drives women nuts when guys are like that. There's nothing worse than me dressing like a clown and then going out with my wife to go shopping or something. But, you know, I am who I am. And I try to be myself as much as possible. But it's because the youth of today has taught me so much that I will still hold my youthful exuberance and excitement. I used to go to Grateful Dead shows. I got to go to about 10. I feel very fortunate. And saw them down in, Cali, Shoreline, Oakland, Seattle, mostly West Coast stuff, Portland, Eugene. And those days, those were the people who I learned the most from in my earlier days. These are the old men who drove the Volkswagen buses who would tour around the country, that you would sit down and talk with one of them and they would give you, the meaning behind love and life. I was involved in love, tolerance, and acceptance, and the wonder of life, back when I was about 15, because that's when I started going to these shows and really meeting people, where I could actually not just say life is about love, but actually live it. And I think that being yourself is important, but the reason why I find people so fascinating is because I believe that the way that people behave is the microcosm within the macrocosm. So the behavior of society dictates what's going on astrologically, what's going on heavenly, interdimensionally, that these are all tied together somehow. Not explainable yet, but when people have certain behavior patterns, you can learn a lot from it. So if I put out a video and I were to have all my subs disagree with my thought on that video, I would have to rethink it, because I would say, what did I miss? And the only reason is because my subs are good people. You know, the people that I chat with, you're all just awesome people with great things to say, awesome comments. And so if I were to say something that would get people angry at me, you know, I rethink my opinion. And that's a lot better than going and confronting people and saying, no, you're wrong, I know what I'm talking about. And this kind of ties into what John said in his video the other day about how people get a lot of subs on their channel, and all of a sudden they become egotistical, and they start shutting people down and making them look stupid. And they forget that you could have 20,000, 50,000 subs, but it's still just a YouTube channel. It's just a little YouTube channel. And 20,000 people is just a small town. It means nothing in the big picture of the world. It may be important to you, but if you're using that few thousand subscribers to get an attitude about what you believe, that's just kind of backing and reinforcing yourself. And that's not what I'm about. I'm about confronting my personal problems, my issues, and dealing with them. But when I love to go out and see the way that people are behaving online and in the world, and see if people are having, you know, how when you talk to folks and they say, oh man, I had a weird night last night. You're like, so did I. And then you find out everybody at work did. You know, what if we could exchange that information readily at a moment? And we can. We have websites where you can go and post your dreams and see what other people are thinking. That's just one aspect of it. You can dictate and document your emotional states and see how they resonate with the environment. What I'm getting to here is that before 9/11, they had, well, I don't know, many of you may have heard of the project that is where they use the supercomputers basically to predict, what do they call them? I can't remember the name for it right now, but they're like moments in history, or moments where things happen. This is very related to McKenna's time wave zero theory, which a lot of people think he predicted 2012, but he didn't. He actually altered the findings and the date to coincide with 2012 once he found out later about the Mayan calendar. So people will back a lot of this stuff up 100%. That's just another thing where people say, oh, it was prophesized. Look, well, no, it was actually altered to fit a timeline. So there's these novelties. That's what they are. These moments of novelty where these charts go up and down. And there was also another program started called, well, it's basically a random number generator. I can't remember the name of it. It's just evading me, but it's a random number generator that they use to to determine if a major event's going to happen in the world. And they found that they went back and checked the statistics on this random number generator, and then found that before 2011, September 11th, starting about 5 to 10 hours before the event, there was a major change in the number generator. Human consciousness was actually creating what they call be kind of like a backdraft, I guess. Like the future has already happened. I'm not going to go into time here, but future, past, present, it's all the same. So we were basically ready and waiting for this to happen, but we weren't consciously aware of it. But the computer picked up on this. Now this shows that human consciousness as a group, what happens is, you can look it up yourself, but the random number generator starts to become more of a pattern before a major event. And it's supposed to be random, but it's not. Human consciousness has somehow affected this machine. They've done these tests with individuals too, where they've had people try to affect the outcome of the machine by intent, and they've done it many times over. So what they're showing is that we can affect small, minute parts of our environment, and that we're aware of what's going to happen and what has happened. Therefore, when you go out and you see how people are acting in society, or if you see that people are really acting up or acting strange, you know, you might be able to take that to heart, see that perhaps something's going on. Maybe not, but that's what I was getting at with watching people, because I'm just an individual and I don't know shit. I have my life, my thoughts, my dreams, and they're no one else's. And I share some very I don't know, similar ideas with people, but for the most part, I'm on my own. I mean, I don't have anybody in my real life, my daily life, other than, say, my mom, really, that I can talk with these issues about these issues with, and my wife, of course. But most people just don't really care, and it's sad to me that people don't care, because that's just being distracted again by daily activity. If a person spends their entire life seeking the truth and they fail at it, it doesn't matter. They never failed. They've succeeded because they've made the effort. And that's the way I see it. Is that if you, determine what you believe based on what people have told you, or based on what's comfortable, then it's too easy to get sucked down the wrong path. And it might work for you for a while, but in the end, you're going to have more questions. And that's why I keep the questions flowing, And I can't say whether you or you or you are going to have the same questions I do. So maybe you're satisfied with less answers, and that's fine too. We're all humans, and we're all working on this together. But it's not always about the individual. In fact, it's never about the individual. But I think that we kind of get tied up in this idea, in these ego trips, where one person knows so much about something that we just trust them to tell us the answers. We've been doing this with religion and with science for way too long. I'm very fortunate that I wasn't impressed with the answers when I was young. That way I can seek them on my own time. And I guess the one thing that I found most important is that the real answers, the deepest answers to life, the ones that we all want to know. Who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going? What is God? Those are answers I don't think that a human in our current state of embodiment can ever know. And I've come to that conclusion. That's one of the only things that I know for sure, is that God is something that we can't know for sure. And that's the only thing that I really know. I only know that because I see humanity as like a jewel, a diamond, with each facet facing out a different way. No facet of the diamond can see the whole. So no one human can see the whole. If every person is part of God, then you'll never be able to see the whole. And I think that we're desperate. We want answers, and we want them now. We want to write them down. We want to have them organized and filed away in our cabinet. So when we want to know the meaning to life, we can go grab a book off the shelf and say, there it is. And it's just my personal opinion that it's not that simple. And if it were that simple, if there was some pinnacle of knowledge that man could reach, where he could prove it to others, it would have been reached long ago. And perhaps it was. But if man had ever really lived in harmony with nature 100% and known the entirety of God and meaning and existence, I don't think that would have ever really been lost. Other than, I think that the ancient peoples of the past were much more endowed in that fact than we are. They were much more in tune with nature, but I don't know whether that was due to environmental circumstance or if that was their personal efforts towards attaining that goal. And to me, it's not about, I guess, I had at one point in my life, as I was saying earlier, it was about, proving. Everything when you're young is about proving your point. And, showing that you're right and making everybody else look wrong. And you get to a point where you're right and you don't give a damn anymore what people think. You just do what you do. And if you're wrong, so be it. But here's the question I would pose to someone. Since each one of you and I all have our own ideas of what's true and what works for us, then what happens when two people have something that works for them that conflicts with each other? Is that right? Is that okay? I mean, is that natural to have people with different opposing beliefs? I don't know. And I don't have those answers, but I get the feeling that this has been a lifelong struggle for every generation since mankind was able to comprehend his own existence. I mean, I personally don't understand how people can't look around them at the world and say, my God, this is just so amazing. Look at that leaf. Look at that pine cone. How did the sunflower create that ratio? How does nature know how to do these things? And it's always sad when people just explain it away as natural selection, just random natural selection. I challenge any person who believes that nature evolved through natural selection with no other influence whatsoever by the universe, that it was all by chance, and that everything just randomly mutated. Please explain the octopus to me. Because the octopus is the one creature that really gets me. It can move along, it can tumble like it can tumble around like a coconut, and it can move around like seaweed. It can change colors to suit its environment. So it means it's aware of its environment, and it can change colors to match it. Just amazing stuff. That's just one point among many. I mean, everything that ties together. Animals across the world who benefit from each other. The way that plants and fungus transmit information and nutrients. I mean, it's just fascinating to me. And I know that that's not exactly proof of anything, but that's enough for me in my heart to tell me that there's something bigger than just randomness here. And so that's what my life's about, is to figure out and sort through that randomness and try to organize it. Did you know that the human brain, they found, is actually the perfect size for maximizing the potential of thought? And I just found this out. I thought it was amazing. They said that if the human brain was any bigger, like if larger mammals' brains, it says that it takes too long because of the speed of light for the neurons to transmit information between the synapses in the brain and to get from one neuron to the other on the other side of the brain. So once you exceed the size of the human brain, the brain actually starts to slow down. And that fascinated me. That means that natural selection brought us to just the point right now where we don't need to evolve with bigger brains or bigger bodies. We've just gotten to the point where we are right where we need to be. And we've remained here for a while. And so, while we think that we don't utilize our brain fully, it's just that we make the choice not to, I think. I've heard science argue, some people say we use 10% of our brain. And I've heard recent science say that's not true. It's just that we didn't understand how the brain works, because only one part it works at a time. And the whole brain is never going to work. It takes about as much electricity as a 10-watt light bulb to run the brain. So if and your brain takes, I believe, something like 60 to 80% of your energy to run your brain. It's an amazing amount of energy. And so if you were to run 100% of your brain all the time, you would be constantly eating. And I mean, it wouldn't work. I think that we're set up to learn and to know exactly what we need right now. Obviously, look around us at what we can create. It's just that we have to dig deeper down within ourselves and not seek without. And to stop pushing ourselves and seeing ourselves as these skin suits, these meat sacks that represent who we are. People have issues with their image. People have issues with who they are, the things they've done. And, I understand that. We got to move past it, Sometimes I think, oh man, I should comb my hair before I make a video, or maybe set the light up nicer, or, at least make it presentable. But I just don't, because I don't care. I'm here to just ramble on, and that's what we do. We ramble on, every one of us, and share what we know. So don't be afraid to be yourself. And when people tell you that you're acting like a kid, think about it and think, is it a good kid or bad kid? Because if it's a good kid, then you're doing all right. Namaste.